Welcome to the Be Positive part of the Bloom Mastermind, where it's all about mindset and what is going on up here that could be getting in the way of us blooming to our full potential. I just had to add this slide in here that shows the fixed mindset versus the growth or expansive mindset. Let's find out a little bit more about that. You may have seen this one before. Our mindset keeps us from blooming. There's four types. There's swirlers, there's toe dippers, there's stops and starters, people that get on their path and then stop and start. And then there's the hard stoppers, where you've started something and then you let it go. I have done all of these, and this is the mindset that stops us from blooming. So how can we overcome this? So as you can see, the fixed mindset is like the dead end road, the road blocker, okay? When you're in fixed mindset mode, you can't see beyond the problem. You see obstacles. You see shoulds and shouldn'ts. You say, I can't. I don't think it's possible. You get very entrenched. You dig a deep hole and you kind of stay in this kind of a hopeless place because you're not using everything you can to get into your growth or expansive mindset, which is about possibilities, which is about choices, seeing the choices, which is about opportunities that you may have not even thought about or you've overlooked. It's a very hopeful place to be. It's a place of gratefulness. When you're in your grateful mindset, then you can get more into an expansive mindset. And it's about forgiveness too. How? Well, we'll see more a little bit. But as you see, that flower is blooming amongst adversity, and you can too. So here's the biggie: fear of failure. What happens when you're afraid of trying and failing? Well, we don't take calculated risks. We avoid risks, actually. We don't think of what could be a way around this or through this. We avoid it completely. We become overly cautious. We miss our opportunities, and that growth and expansive mindset goes away. There's no growth. There's no expansion. In fact, there's paralysis. A paralysis sets in. That's where we're swirling. That's where we're toe dipping. That's where we do that hard stop or those stops along the path, okay? We can't make decisions. We're not good at decision making. Again, we miss opportunities. Our creativity diminishes. Again, there's no growth and expansion. Our creativity is stunted, like I just said, which hinders our innovation, our ideas, all different things that can propel us to bloom. It blocks development of ourselves, our personal development and our professional development. It stifles progress that you want to see results with and an impact with. And so fear of failure just does a whammy job on all that and doesn't let you move forward. The second biggie mindset issue is fear of success. What? Yes. The biggest thing is this imposter syndrome thing. We don't deserve in who we are, that we're presenting ourselves out there. In fact, we don't even believe that we can put ourselves out there in a professional or an expert or a way shower way. We feel like a fraud, and that places a lot of guilt and shame on us. We tell ourselves we're not capable. We have tons of self-doubt, self-criticism, negative self-talk. There's a lack of confidence and a diminishing confidence. Instead of building it up, it diminishes. We resist change, good change. Change hinders growth. we're not growing when we're not changing. It also stops us from accepting things that we need to accept to move forward. And it stops change instead of this growing mode that I've been talking about. It sabotages the growth. I mean, literally sabotages. This is self-sabotage stuff that we do. Our responsibility is scary, okay? It seems like too much of a weight on our shoulders. We can't hide from it. We go out there full steam and we represent ourselves, and now we can't take it away. We feel, oh my God, everybody's going to look at us for you're the expert, or you're the way shower, or you're the person who knows to solve this problem. So we tend to stay in the victim role or the no growth role, and when we fear life will change too much. We don't want to be here. It's not one of the seeds of success. It's the opposite of that. It's when we say, I can't, I can't, I can't. So we clearly know that we have to get and work through and get away from this fear of success. I understand fear of success. I've certainly had it in spades. Here I am several years ago, and I was on TV sprouting my bloom message, like I like to say, before I went back to practicing law for a while. And I was picked by the executive producer. He pulled me aside and he goes, you've got something, something's there, and I want to do a pilot with you. Let's do a pilot. This was out of New Haven, and Sally Jesse Raphael came out of that. So I was like, oh my God. Well, I came home with like a deer in the headlights. Okay. I didn't know what to do. I kind of dragged my heels for a while, and I did get somebody over to my house to do literally a kitchen shot of me talking to some people. And this was an interview with Dale Allen. She has a one woman show in Our Right Minds, and a movie now, and a book now. And so I knew her when, but the pilot did not happen. I dragged my feet so much. I didn't even get to show it because that executive producer, by the time I brought it in, I don't know, let's say it was 4 weeks, 6 weeks later, he had been transferred to another station out west, and my opportunity was gone, and I didn't bloom in that role. Who knows if the pilot would have been picked up, but I certainly felt extreme fear when I was presented with a very wonderful opportunity. I just wanted to share that. So where does fear come from? The brain, the mind, the ego? What's the difference? Well, they're all interconnected. Our brains are kind of hardwired to focus on the negative. But more specifically, it's not just our thinking brain, but our mind and ego that fosters fear. The ego is part of the mind that can be self-deceiving. It can also be a powerful motivator and a very human feeling. We need it for protection in this world. But if I Google ego, it's defined as the part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and the unconscious and is responsible for reality testing and a sense of personal identity. So our ego can protect us, but it's also a master at stopping us, judging us, blaming us, and hurting us, and being in that fear mode. When it's in fear mode, that's the place it likes to go the most. So here's a quote and from Dr. Elisa Madhouse, and she says fear comes from ego. It's not a soul level thing, and there's a lot of reasons for humans to have fear. A fear of not being good enough, a fear of not being able to do something well. Do those sound familiar to you? Fear helps to develop ego, she says, and ego helps to develop fear. So they go hand in hand. And she literally says they go in a circle. Fear usually is an absence of connection to spirit. Not. And so she's really connecting the ego and that it is not a soul thing. It's not a spiritual, it's not a holistic thing. It's something that likes to dwell in fear. So just know that when you're in that fear mode, you're not in your creative energy, you're not in your growth or expansive. It's keeping you down. It's part of worry, it's blame, it's guilt, it's all this stuff that keeps us from blooming. So our awareness to our fear, up there it is again. No, it's a thing. No, it's a thing that's not going to propel you to grow. So as you go about your week, recognize what you're fearing, write it down, so that you can become aware of what's triggering you and what's going on with your brain, your mind, and your ego. When you start putting a lot of awareness into this fear mode, which is the opposite on the ends of the spectrum, there's fear and there's love and there's everything in between. When we can start to reset and reframe our mindset, amazing things happen. Things start growing because our negative mindset, our fixed mindset, is part of the weeds that we have to clear so we can grow. But good news is we can work with it. We can reset it. First step is awareness to it. Famous quote by Marianne Williamson that I love. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us. Enough said. Marianne said it well. So I'm going to tell you a little parable that I adapted from Barbara Stanny's book, Overcoming Under-Earning. I love that book. So I'm going to rephrase it a bit. It's the farmer and the wall. So there was this farmer, and he started building a wall because he feared the really awful ogre out there somewhere in the village. And every year he invested his time, his money, his energy into building this wall higher and higher and higher. He was getting exhausted doing this. And somehow he was propelled outside the wall. The villagers came to him and said, "You've got to get away from this wall and see this ogre and see him for yourself." So he did. And guess what? When he found the ogre, it wasn't this massive, like 60-foot giant monster. It shrunk into this little thing that wasn't so bad after all. So look at what his mind did. When I say that, when I tell you that parable, here's what I'd love you to jot down right now so you can press pause. What came up for you? What is your ogre? I actually had a huge aha when I read this parable for the first time. What is your ogre or your ogres? Probably the thing that makes you uncomfortable, that it's not easy, but it could be the right thing to do. I want you to write it down now. I want to know if you can write so that something comes up for you here, because we all have our ogres, we all have our fears, and to identify yours is going to help you so much here. For me, when I read this, I knew I had to go back to practice law. So it wasn't a mistake for me. I said I have to prove to myself that I can practice law, practice well, and off I went and started my own law practice in my 50s. And I've done very well with it. And so it helped me move me along my path and my confidence and all with my income, with my financial self-sufficiency. But, you know, we all have many ogres, and that was my fear then. And now we're all overcoming fears. So I'm not saying that I'm not dealing with the fears. I do too. What's yours? Who's your ogre? Define it add some form and substance to it and see if you can really identify it. So how do you overcome fears? Well, this is going to be easier said than done, right? This is a list. Remember, failure is a success in progress. So we can have successes. It's a progress and a process. We need to put self-awareness to it. That's why I want you to put self-awareness to your ogre in the last slide. It's about resilience. It's about almost being those, remember those Weevil dolls that used to, you knock them over, but they always bounce up. That's our resilience factor that we want to get stronger. We want to get uncomfortable because facing our fears is not comfortable, but I'm not saying it's going to kill you or anything. It might be uncomfortable, but that's where you need to go with it. Learn from your failures, celebrate successes, even the tiny ones. I know you hear this a lot, but if you really make a practice to say, whoa, I did this today, if it was something small, you can build on that and learn from your failures. It was just a lesson. That's all it was, a lesson. Have a lot of self-compassion. This is the time to really be your best friend. If you're not your best friend, it's all about self-love. If you're not loving yourself and giving to yourself, don't expect the world or somebody else to do it for you. That growth mindset is going to help us overcome our fears. And of course, support from mentors, coaches, and this course, this Bloomstorming, Mindstorming course can help us with our fears. So let's keep going.